Hello internet, Jazza here. So I'm starting to creep myself out a bit, just like with Trump and the general election in 2015 and the Brexit referendum. I actually, on my podcast, The Righteous Honourable, predicted this result pretty spot on.
Oh, can I call the election, seeing as I'm a medium?
Yeah, I guess so. This is your reference to the fact that you managed to call the Trump and the Brexit votes before they actually happened.
Yeah, I'm going to call for a Conservatives' largest number of seats, shy of a majority.
So you don't think the Tories will be able to form a majority government? They'll either have to do a minority government or form a coalition of some sort.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, if only I could use my superpowers for good. Lottery numbers, lottery numbers, lottery numbers, lottery numbers. I really think we should be silent for a minute, just to mourn the loss of the strong and stable government that we were going to have, led by Theresa May. If you'd join me for a few moments. On election night, I went through so many emotions. When the exit poll came out, that ended up being pretty much spot on. I was like, oh, this is brilliant for democracy. What if we end up having a cross-party negotiation position for Brexit? Oh, we'll be able to get a Brexit that works for everybody, or maybe not even the EU. Yes, I'm a Vermona, and I'm very proud of that fact about me. The thing is, when a country is going through a period of immense change, like, I don't know, severing ties with its strongest trading partner, you do need to have strong and stable leadership. And we have anything but that now.
This will be bad for Brexit. This will be bad for the immediate future of the country. I believe in stable leadership and stable government, and even though this got forced down people's throats, strong and stable, Theresa May, strong and stable, Theresa May's team, Theresa May, stable, Theresa May, strong, super stable, strong, stable, strong.
Theresa May on election night looked incredibly downtrodden, beaten. She's been trying to have this front of, for want of a better word, bravado and confidence, and that has just been taken out of her sails. Her two main advisors quit the day after the election, and that was a powerhouse. They were the people that were running the country, and they may be behind the scenes, but Tulu. Theresa May's Conservatives, and they were Theresa May's Conservatives, ended up losing seats and getting 318 seats. We need roughly 325 in order to have a majority in Parliament. Labour managed to surge, but also still came second. Everybody seems very happy that the Labour Party ended up losing the election. But it was the fact that this was meant to be the election that decimated the Labour Party. That meant that we had to start from the centre ground and left anew. The Labour Party wasn't going to be able to be viable or get votes anymore. But they still ended up with 60-ish fewer seats than the Conservatives. In 2010 this happened, and the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats went into a formal coalition, with both parties forming parts of the government and having legislation put through. The Lib Dems were less keen to do that this time because of the backlash that they got from being in government with the Conservatives between 2010 and 2015. Also, they're in no state. They've just lost Tim Farron. Tim Farron has stepped down as leader. Nick Clegg is gone. I love Cleggy. So the only party that could viably prop up the Conservative government and make it actually be able to pass any kind of legislation are the Democratic Unionist Party. Now, needless to say, nobody's really heard of them before. The DUP are a Northern Irish party, and there is a very good reason that Northern Irish politics is kept very separate to politics in the rest of the UK. Northern Ireland obviously has a huge and very profound history of division across Protestant, Catholic, Unionist and separatist lines. The DUP and Sinn Féin, the two biggest Irish parties in Stormont, which is their kind of assembly, their parliament. And Sinn Féin represent the IRA, who were the pro-separatist terrorists until there was the peace agreement in Northern Ireland. And the DUP represent the pro-keeping Northern Ireland in the rest of the UK people. They were also kind of terrorists and a very religiously hardline. They are the reason, they're the people that keep on blocking equal marriage legislation for LGBT people in Northern Ireland. They're anti-abortion, they are sceptical about climate change. It's like we've got a little island of the Bible Belt now being the party with 10 MPs that are the tail that's probably gonna wag the dog of the Conservative Party. It's kind of scary. We ended up with this surge for Labour and this hung parliament largely because of increased youth turnout, which I'm like, took your time, guys, thanks. But like some people said that there was a 72% turnout in the general election that we just had. That is really, really high if that were true, because overall turnout was 68%. The youth vote has, I don't think, ever been that high in modern times. That buoys me, because we've actually been able to see young people have turned out to vote, and we've been able to see the consequences. The consequences are we've gone like, no thanks Theresa, you're all right, and she had a terrible manifesto for young people. Like, there was nothing in there for young people. She didn't care about us because we didn't turn out. And they can't ignore us anymore, because now we do turn out. We just need to keep at it. But all of the positives of that, of increased youth turnout, have ended up with kind of like the worst of all worlds. Like, we have an unstable government and we're going to be starting Brexit negotiations really, really soon. We've already triggered Article 50. And like, there's no precedent, obviously, because nobody's ever left the European Union before. There's no precedent for stopping those negotiations once they've started, the 2-year like clock ticking. The DUP, who are hardcore fundamentalist crazy people, and I don't use that lightly, are the people who are propping up a Conservative government. And I did have a moment of, oh God, young people, what have we done? Couldn't we have just bought Theresa May's rhetoric and gone, oh, we'll stay home, we're strong and stable, fine, give her a 100-seat majority. We have Theresa May's job in jeopardy. People saying that she can't continue to be the leader under the circumstances in which she lost. I kind of agree, but nobody seems to be stepping forward yet. We'll have to wait and see. I think she'll be in that job for a reasonably long time. But there is something I am helpful for, partially based around that increased youth engagement that we had in terms of turnout. There has to be a cross-party consensus, not just on Brexit, because that is the most consequential thing in terms of our country's future, but stuff like the austerity spending and the NHS and public services, all of those need increased engagement from us, the people. I had a friend who posted about the fact that she had she'd written a letter. What is paper? She'd written a letter to her local MP saying, like, you need to listen to us now, and you need to not let the homophobic, climate change denying DUP wag your tail. You also have power in this administration. I'm really buoyed by the fact that Ruth Davidson from the Scottish Conservatives has really separated herself from the rest of the party and spoken specifically about her concern about doing a deal with the DUP and LGBTQ+ rights.
Well, I sought, and to be fair to the Prime Minister, received a categoric assurance that in talking to the DUP there would be no suggestion of any rollback of LGBTI rights. In the rest of the UK, we are, as the Conservative Party, the party of equal marriage. We introduced the bill to the House of Commons, and also that we would seek to use any influence that we had to advance LGBTI rights in Northern Ireland, and these are assurances that I received.
This lack of consensus and homogeneity in Parliament means that each individual MP's voice and vote is more significant now if they decide to vote against party lines, which makes our voices louder and more significant. They can't ignore us anymore, whether or not you're in a safe seat. So make sure you start going to your MP surgeries. Like, isn't it brilliant how it feels that young people are the people that decided this election, that decided that, no, we don't want a Conservative majority or Theresa May to have a ton of power. I think that that is incredibly empowering, and you should feel great about it. But it doesn't stop on one day, one Thursday in June, right? We've got, like, the wind in our sails, and you need to start demanding shit, because we've been ignored for far too long. This video, and all of the videos on this channel, is made sustainable and possible by the people who donate money to me on Patreon, and become patrons. Thank you so much for continuing to help create a space where we can chat politics. Thanks to Rob, to Laura, to Ian, to Lorenza, Helena, Rachel, Richard, Tristan, Alexander, and Liam. Please do check out my Patreon. We have a monthly live stream where we have one-to-ones and chats. It's really fun. We have a good time. If you liked this video, then subscribe, donk, there. And then you can also watch this video. But YouTube specifically thinks, based on your viewing habits, thinks that you'll like it. So you may as well have a look anyway, haven't you? Toodaloo.